Are you ready to do it again, truth seekers? Welcome back. Zach here. My girlfriend's super sick. She's got the flu. So I'm drinking lots of fluids. This morning and last night, the CNN front page, same headline. Trump aides in constant touch with Russians during campaign. On November 7th on my blog, the day before Election Day, I wrote that if Donald Trump did become the president, we'll either see his presidency end in a staged assassination or some contrived scandal, possibly with Russia. And I really do think that his administration, I'll be surprised if it even lasts a year. Saturday Night Live's been joking that it's going to end, in the first 2 months. But I mean, just look at what's going on. It's just it's a contrived shit show that doesn't make any sense. Nothing about Donald Trump's presidency makes any sense other than we know we live in a nation of morons and some of those morons voted for him. But it's just, the guy's a cartoon character. Big bullshit coming out of that little tiny mouth with those little tiny hands. With that golden fluff. I'm so tired of talking about this guy again and again. That's why I had to start it with, let's do it again. But the good news is, truth seeker, there's something new in this video. There is something new in this video. I feel like I found the missing link to this gematria research, which we're going to talk about in this video. There's a major form of gematria that I have been missing for the 3 years that I've been doing this work, and I'm now very aware of that form and very aware that I have been missing that piece, which has been crucial. And had we known this piece, it would have been very clear that it was Donald Trump who was to be the president and not Hillary Clinton. So I'm wishing I found this out earlier, but you know what they say, better late than never. For you younger people, don't do that. Don't wipe your nose on the inside of your shirt. But I think, honestly, I'm already catching whatever my girlfriend's got. She's had it for 2 days now, and it's getting worse. So anyway, Trump aides in constant touch with Russians during campaign. Manafort, Flynn were among the advisors who communicated regularly with Russian officials. Understand this, the United States of America, Russia, these aren't sovereign nations. These are New World Order nations. This is all a puppet show. Vladimir Putin, the puppet over there, Donald Trump, the new puppet over here. This is all a show. This is all a show. That's the most important thing to understand. The next most important thing to understand is that it's all a show by the numbers. I want to show you something about Trump and Vladimir. The name Trump, using the alphabetic order, sums to 88, just like the name Vladimir, just like Moscow, the capital of Russia. It was moved there on the date March 11th in history. Used to be St. Petersburg. USA breaks down to 311. March 11th, 3/11, 311. 311, special number of Freemasonry, which is the New World Order. The real governorship of Russia and the United States. Also, just notice Purple and Elizabeth, both sum to 88. We've seen a lot of tributes with Donald Trump and the Queen. 88 days after the Queen's birthday, Donald Trump came out to Queen, We Are the Champions at his July 18th convention in Cleveland. But anyway, Trump, Vladimir, Moscow, all 88. What we're going to be talking about is this reverse ordinal gematria. This is the missing piece that I've been forgetting, or not forgetting about. I just didn't even realize it. I didn't know it was there. I didn't know that this was one of the crucial forms of gematria But after doing a little bit of homework with it, I said, wow, this reverse ordinal gematria is blowing my mind. Notice that Trump in reverse ordinal is 47 on the night of the election. He was in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel that's hosted every president since JFK. The word president equals 47. 47, the number of foundation in Freemasonry. I also want you to notice that the word Jewish in reverse ordinal is 88. There's been multiple headlines written about from New York Times to Fox News joking that Donald Trump is the first Jewish president, even though he's not really Jewish. Of course, Donald Trump's been talking an awful lot about how well his children married by all marrying into Jewish families, which is no coincidence. But anyway, they're calling Donald Trump the first Jewish president, just like they called Bill Clinton the first black president. Bill Clinton was number 42. 42, the number stamped all over black people throughout history. This reader right here, Don K. That's weird. I click on it, it gets even smaller. It's supposed to get bigger. See if I can zoom this in for you. Don K. Notice there might be a little joke with Trump and Putin or put in. Perhaps the joke is that Donald will be put out. You know? Maybe. Clever. Good thinking here from Don K. Thank you for that. Donald Trump, his advisor, this guy Manafort. What a ridiculous name, right? Manafort. Manafort, another 88. Michael Flynn retiring or resigning on the 44th day. So let me show you what we've been missing with this reverse ordinal gematria. Hillary Clinton began her presidential campaign April 12th, 2015, the 102nd day of the year. United States of America has gematria of 102. The Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year, April 12th. Slavery equals 102. Right after Hillary began her campaign, the news story came out about the 102-year-old woman caucusing for Hillary Clinton. I wish in all the times I was covering what was so interesting about that, I would have known about I wish I knew about this reverse ordinal gematria. Clinton, 102. She began her campaign on the 102nd day of the year. Now Trump, again in reverse ordinal, sums to 47 like president. Then again, Hillary was born in 47. Politico at the beginning of this week just wrote the article about how Hillary's going to run again in 2020. And we'll see if that's true. But what I've been saying is don't be surprised if Hillary runs in 2020 and wins. Hillary Clinton in Pythagorean gematria sums to 73. So does the word united. Think about United States, United Kingdom. Hillary Clinton will be 73 in 2020, and her name gematria is 73. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if she does run in 2020. Remember, in The Simpsons, it's a female president that gets elected after President Trump, and it's Lisa Simpson. The name Lisa Simpson equals 47 like president. The name Simpson alone equals 33 like Clinton in the English reduction format. But look at this. Here's some more gems. President in reverse ordinal is 133, just like election, just like leap year. Government in ordinal is 133. Remember, reverse ordinal is just doing the alphabet backwards. In ordinal, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26. In reverse ordinal, Z is 1. You go backwards, A is 26. It's just the opposite order. How interesting is it that president in reverse ordinal is 133 and government in ordinal is 133, just like White House. And then, even more trippy, White House in reverse ordinal is 137, just like Washington, D.C. 137 is the 33rd prime number, federal 33, order 33, masonry 33, secrecy 33. Also, as I was pointing out, Donald Trump's GOP convention was July 18th, 18/7. 187 days before Inauguration Day, the day Trump would take the White House. And I was saying all that time, I said, remember, if Trump takes the White House, remember this. What I didn't know then was Washington, D.C. in reverse ordinal is 187. You know? Inauguration Day in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump, the Jesuit, first Jesuit Pope. Look at Society of Jesus, which is the Jesuit order, in reverse ordinal, 187. The first Republican president, or he wasn't a Republican, but he was the first recognized president, Freemason, George Washington. George Washington equals 187. Think about George W. Bush, the last Republican president, born July 6th, which is the 187th day of the year. George W. Bush, born on the 187th day. Now it all makes a lot more sense knowing that Washington, D.C. is 187 in reverse ordinal. Also, federal in reverse ordinal is 138, like Donald Trump, who's now the head of the federal government, the biggest face in the federal government. Masonry and Zionism in reverse ordinal. Something else I learned, little side note here, are 84. Remember the word Jesuits 84, as is United States of America. The Jesuit States of America. The Jesuits, the Masonic order within the Catholic Church, created once upon a time by the Jewish. See how it all comes together so nicely? You know, my head was just popping off last night as I made these realizations for the first time. I just couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, this must be the reason for the magical 26-letter alphabet based on gematria. The synchronicities you can create. You know, who could say this is coincidence? This is no coincidence. This is how it's been done all this time. And we've only been seeing a portion of it. And, you know, like I said from the beginning, I only know so much. This is the tip of the iceberg. I know there's a lot more to this study. The more minds that come to help, the more we'll figure out faster. And these revelations are thanks to Derek, who came along and created this Gematrinator calculator, which makes all of these calculations so quick and easy. So again, gematria, a Jewish practice, the Hebrew alphabet based on letters and numbers. The Hebrew alphabet is a counting system and an alphabet. Right now there's this hit show on HBO called WestWorld, which has a lot of parallels with this world we live in. Notice this. America in ordinals 50, like the 50 states. In reverse ordinal, America's 139, just like WestWorld. And remember, Freemasonry is 139 using the alphabetic order. America established by Freemasons. Freemasonry running your media, controlling your entertainment, from TV shows to movies, Hollywood, the sports leagues, to even your government. Your government is entertainment, you know? Most people, they just follow to be entertained. Notice that WestWorld also sums to 104 in reverse ordinal, the date of establishment for the United States of America, a date with 104 numerology. Again, that One World Trade Center, 104 stories tall. Jerusalem, we're thinking about moving the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. Jerusalem with a USA right in the middle equals 104. Notice also, United States with the reduction method sums to the same thing as WestWorld. United States in reverse ordinal sums to 167, which is the 39th prime number. 39th prime, the Old Testament. The Jewish part of the Bible is 39 books. Old Testament sums to 40, like United States, like WestWorld. In the Old Testament, the oldest living person is Methuselah, gematria 40, just like Old Testament, like United States. In Jewish gematria, United States of America sums to 929, and in the Old Testament of 39 books, there are 929 chapters. Number of chapters in the Old Testament. Now, what tripped me out is in the film Noah, which just came out recently, Anthony Hopkins plays Methuselah. Anthony Hopkins, the actor, right? Anthony Hopkins is also in WestWorld and runs the WestWorld show. He's in control of WestWorld. What are they trying to tell us with these actors? If you pay attention to the way Hollywood uses actors, a lot of times they'll use people in similar roles in shows and movies. So 969, if you change this to 9.69 kilometers an hour, that's the orbital speed of Saturn, the keeper of time, Zionist Israel, the Jewish state, completely built around the numbers of Saturn. September 29th, 9/29, as we write it in the US, is the day that leaves 93 days left in the year. Saturn has ordinal gematria of 93, reverse ordinal of 69. Kind of reminds me of this 9.69 kilometers an hour. 69, yin and yang, life and birth, dark and night, cycles, opposites. In terms of Saturn, the cycle part really makes sense. Something else I noticed that's just interesting, a little side note about Anthony. Anthony's ordinal name is 97 and his reverse ordinal is 92, and Hopkins is the exact opposite. And his name is the same in ordinal and reverse ordinal. You know, just wanted to document that. I thought that was interesting. But with regards to, gematria, Jewish, New World Order, which is a Masonic, Zionist, Jewish, Jesuit world order. Yesterday, the Jewish Netanyahu was in the United States visiting with Trump on Valentine's Day. Remember, Valentine equals 39, like the 39 books in the Old Testament. When you write out 39 as a word, it sums to 142, kind of like 14/2 Valentine's Day. I also noticed that there's a connection actually between the word Valentine and 33 in reverse ordinal. And yesterday's Valentine's Day was a date with 33 numerology. Federal equals 33. Israel created with a 33-member vote by the United Nations in 1947. Anyway, Donald Trump, the first Jewish president, and Netanyahu, the Jewish Zionist state leader, meeting together. I'll link this down below if you want to read the article. Talks about their discussion about moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Look at the gematria between America and Jerusalem. 32, just like date of establishment has 32 and 104 numerology, 139 for Freemasonry. The United States of America is New Jerusalem, New Biblical Israel. That's what's going on here. Long before I understood this as deeply as I do now, I just saw how if you read Revelation of the Bible, and you look at the numbers just used in that final book, Revelation is the final book of the Bible that's based on the 39 books of the Old Testament. If you read Revelation and just look at the numbers that are used again and again, you'll go, wow, those are the same numbers that are so relevant to this nation. 7 and 4, 7 and 4. Not to mention Philadelphia is in there. Letter written to the Church of Philadelphia about the false Jews, the synagogue of Satan, the original capital of this nation. The people who created this nation were Jewish. They practiced gematria. They've run this nation by the numbers ever since, and it's very clear that they used the Bible in constructing this nation as we know it. In Revelation, the warnings are the 7 trumpets. We have the Trump Pence ticket. Holy Bible equals 45. Trump's the 45th president. Berlin Wall equals 45. Donald Trump announces the president on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. I also just want to point out this Kushner name. They bring them up at the end, the Jewish real estate family in New York that Ivanka's married into. Look at the gematria of Kushner. 33, 42, number of the Freemasons and Zionism, Freemason 42, Zionism 42. And in reverse ordinal, the name's even 93, the huge name in New York. One World Trade Center equals 93, 104 stories tall. Everything about Zionist Israel centered around the number 93, the number of Saturn, the keeper of time. Again, I'll link all these posts if you want to read them down in the description. I've always talked about the synchronicity with 74 in the Bible. There's a whole lot more 74, but just look at these ones right here. How interesting is this? Jesus and cross have the same reverse ordinal gematria of 61, which stood out right away to me because that's the God number in Jewish gematria. And church and miracle sum to 61. You know, Jesus is known for performing 33 miracles. Church in reverse ordinal is also 101, which is the 26th prime number. God, using the alphabetic order, is 26, the God number 26. Gospel and Jewish, same gematria. You know, Masonic, Messiah, Lucifer, same gematria. Christian, also Christian syncs up with church, right? That makes sense. Notice that Christian in reverse ordinal is 142. If you write out 42, it sums to 142 using the alphabetic order. New Testament equals 42. The New Testament begins with the 42 generations leading up to Jesus. 42-line Bibles, the original printed Bibles. Again, Freemason 42. Whole lot of 42 in the Bible. I even noticed Mormon, 88 and 74. You know, the Mormon Church, created by Freemasonry, by the numbers. Joseph Smith, murdered by the numbers. Brigham Young, murdered by the numbers. Those two men died 33 years apart. Leaders of the early Mormon Church. Utah, you know, the Mormon state. Donald Trump had a lot of very interesting stories. And I'm just thinking of something in real time. Donald Trump, when he was campaigning, had a lot of interesting stories with the Mormons in Utah, which I documented, have videos on. One of the big stories was when Donald Trump canceled his visit to Utah to instead meet with the Jewish lobby, AIPAC. And now think about this. Mormon, 88-74. Jewish, 74-88. You know, he did a flip the script. He was supposed to meet with the Mormons, and then he said he went and met with the Jewish people. Freemasonry, Judaism, it's all the same. The Jewish people are interested in controlling the masses. That's what they're after. Controlling the goy. You should see what goy is. And this is how they've done it. The Jewish people have been around for a long time. We're in the Jewish year 5,777. Pretty soon it'll be 5,778. You know, these people have been around. These people have an agenda. People are running the show. It's undeniable. So here was just a huge thing for me with the reverse ordinal gematria yesterday, realizing that God in reverse ordinal equaled 55. I wish I'd known this 3 years ago, because one of my oldest videos is on why the word God using our alphabet doesn't sum to 55. When I began this study, when I was just looking for information, trying to understand the significance of numbers, why it would be important to code them into words, realized when I started this 3 years ago, I started with the question, is this all a coincidence, gematria? Is gematria a coincidence? And I was trying to prove that it was just a coincidence. But the more I researched, the more I realized this is no coincidence. But something that caught me so curious was that God didn't sum to 55 using the alphabetic order, but the word Satan did. And the reason that was so curious to me is because I read that in numerology, many numerologists consider 10 and 55 to represent God. Now realize, I didn't realize that God equaled 55 in reverse ordinal until just yesterday. But here's what it is with 55 and 10. If you add up the first 10 numbers, you know, in numerology, the first 9 numbers are really the only numbers that matter, because 10 is just using 1 again and putting a 0 after it. If you add up the first 10 numbers, it sums to 55. And the numerology of 55 is 5 plus 5 equals 10. The Fibonacci sequence, which is what you see right here, you just add the number that comes before. 1, 1, 2. That's because 1 plus 1 is 2. Then 1 plus 2 is 3, the next number. Then 2 plus 3 is 5. Then 3 plus 5 is 8. You see how this works? 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 plus 8 is 21. Are you following me? 21 plus 13, 34. 34 plus 21, 55. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 55 is the 10th Fibonacci number. Also interesting about the Fibonacci numbers, 144 is the 12th Fibonacci number. We can get there real quick. 34 plus 55 is 89. That's the 9th Fibonacci number. And then it's 55 plus 89 is 144. 144 the 12th. The square root of 144 is 12. So some interesting synchronicities within the Fibonacci sequence, which are considered to be God's numbers, the natural recurring numbers in so many organic shapes in this world we live in. But anyhow, 55 has these special numerical patterns. And the reason they say that this represents God is because the qualities of 1 through 9 are supposed to represent the numbers of man. And then God is essentially all of man plus something greater. So the next thing in the sequence, 10. God is a reflection of all of its creation. Kind of like how if you add these first 10 numbers together, they sum to 55. Also, 0. When you put a 0 at the end of a number, 0 is supposed to have this godly property. And the way to understand that is think about 0 this way. We know 0 is a thing. It's a word. We write it. But 0 is not something you can observe. 0 isn't tangible. It's just understood. God is kind of the same way. God is understood, but you can't see God. You could say maybe you feel God. God leads you. God can help you out. But you know what I mean? It's like you can't see God, just like how you can't really see 0 of something. So this is where the parallel comes in between 0 and God, and 0 having this divine quality. So when I saw God equaled 55 in reverse ordinal, I said, man, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I've always known that numerology sums to 55. What I always found so interesting when I started this study of gematria is how Satan sums to 55. Satan equals 55, and 55 is supposed to be this number connected to God. And really, honestly, truth seeker, it makes a lot of sense to me that whoever did this coded 55 into Satan. I truly believe, and I don't like to use that word, but I truly believe that the God of this world, if you read about Satan in the Bible, it's not that Satan's all bad either. It's that Satan's trying to be good. But Satan has ego and Satan has issues. This world that we live in has never made any sense to me. Long before I knew about gematria and numerology, I observed two things that I knew were very real about this world. No good deed will go unpunished, and assholes prosper. There's a lot of really bad people in this world achieving, doing well, There's a lot of good people in this world that are in the gutter for being good people. And I just go, what kind of God would allow a world to be this way? Why does God allow an asshole like Donald Trump to, be the president? What's God's deal? Why didn't God make people better than they are? Why are so many people so shitty? Christians want to make excuses. But look, Christians, you shouldn't need to read a book to be inspired by the Lord, or whatever word you want to use. God's the creator, so why didn't he just make people right? Why would you need a book to find out how to be? We're created by the creator, so why aren't we just made right? Why do we need this instruction manual? And when you read the Bible, the God of the Bible is very petty, very man-like. jealous, killing people, making fire rain down from the sky. I mean, what's wrong with this God? Why didn't he just make his creation right in the first place so he didn't have all these problems? I'm convinced that whatever the creator is clearly good and bad, and honestly, an asshole. It seems to me that the creator of this world is truly an asshole. And that's part of the reason I don't worship. I mean, why worship an asshole? I'm not worshiping any asshole. If the world was all right and just and everything was peaches and cream, I'd be right there with all of you who fold your hands and get down on your knees for God. But what I see is an asshole God. That's all the evidence I see. I don't see the evidence, well, okay. I do see the evidence of the nice side of God. I mean, there's a lot of beauty in this world. I live in a very beautiful place in the Pacific Northwest. So, God, good and bad, but really, ultimately, I think God is more of an asshole. And this whole 55 Satan thing, God in reverse 55, it's making a lot of sense to me. It's making a lot of sense to me. Is it making sense to you, Truth Seeker? Let me know. Also, as a bonus, I'm going to link this post down here about Stanley Kubrick. I'm quite convinced that Stanley Kubrick, who was birthed and died by the numbers, I'm quite convinced that this is one of the Jewish masterminds of the New World Order. And I think this is the man who dreamt up September 11th. He died in 1999, but I'm pretty sure when 9/11/2001 went down, he was one of the chief architects of planning that day. His movie, Space Odyssey 2001, came out in 1968, the same year 911 was made the national emergency dialing code, the same year World Trade Center construction began, the same year George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones. 33 years before 2001. Stanley, born on the same day as New York, born in Manhattan where the World Trade Centers fell. Oh shit, I've been doing this video too long, Truth Seeker. My battery's almost all gone. But anyway, I'll link this post down below. There's a lot of stuff that's interesting here. Got the right gematria for Hollywood, syncing up with Masonic, the Synagogue of Satan, and a million other things. Died by the numbers in the UK. Our New World Order neighbor, plus a million other things. But Stanley Kubrick, very Jewish. If you read this post, where's it at? Up here, he talks about his Jewishness and how you needed to understand his Jewishness to understand his movies and what the perspective is. And Stanley Kubrick's movies, they're mostly all showing you the dark side of humanity, the evil side of humanity, what's wrong with humanity. The false Jews, what Stanley Kubrick was, they call themselves the Synagogue of Satan. These people are helping evil manifest in the world. So a lot of interesting things here. They span from the 93 World Trade Center bombing to September 11th, syncs up with the name Kubrick, and so much more. Anyway, just trying to give you guys more knowledge in this video, let you know what's really up. Here's a comical one, too. Here's a comical one. Russia and the United States, they are both created from the Jewish Zionists. And if you read about Jewish Bolshevism on Wikipedia, it says it's anti-Semitic and all propaganda, conspiracy theory. Understand, this is the world you live in, a world of lies and deceit. Jewish Bolshevism is not anti-Semitic. It is not a conspiracy theory. It's 100% fact that has been whitewashed from the history books. Prior to Hitler, the Jews had started a genocide in what is now Russia, just like how they started a genocide in North America. I bet you in 50 years it says that the genocide of the natives is a conspiracy theory, an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. It's just unreal. Wikipedia, Jewish Masonic source. Remember that. Wikipedia, run by the Jews and Freemasons. Absolutely. Anyway, I got to turn this off before it collapses and I lose the whole video. Until next time, True